Okay. Hi, Dr. Williams. How are you?
I am doing well, Douglas. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. So, you've got a book out called Visions, Values, and Corporate Hypocrisy. And I tell you, when I read the title, immediately Disney came to mind with this controversy that's going on. Is it anything related to that sort of issue, or is this more? Tell me a little bit if I'm on the right track or not with that idea.
Well, no, it's not directly related to what's going on at Disney, but if I can just tell you about the book and what it does cover, it's a provocative, informative, and insightful critique of what leaders say and what they actually do. The book begins with a scathing critique of the hypocrisy that exists when you examine some of America's largest companies, what they say versus what they do. Particularly, companies put out elaborate vision statements and mission statements that they usually contain flowery words, how much they value their employees, et cetera. But when you lift the veil and look at the actions that take place among the leaders in particular and how they treat their employees, there's often a disparity between what they say and what they do. And that's what I call corporate hypocrisy, when the actions of a leader don't align with the flowery words that are etched in the vision statement and mission statements.
Oh, I see. So, okay. So, you're really hammering in more on the internal workings, employees versus
Yes.
management. Can you give us just a little bit of your backstory, how you got to this point?
Sure. Well, first of all, I've been in the corporate world for about 30 years, and I currently work as a senior vice president of operations for a large call center in Ventura County, California. Throughout my career, I have been just kind of sat by and watched, some of the practices that leaders put out from day to day as far as the treatment of their people. And I've always been amazed at how, the blatant disregard that many leaders have for the front line, and how their actions fail to align with their words. And most importantly, Douglas, the effect that misalignment has on the frontline employees. I have always believed that if a leader can capture the hearts and minds of the employees, then everything else, is facilitated. In fact, it comes easier because you gain the trust and confidence of your people. Since employees generally account for about two-thirds of a company's total expenses, to me it just makes perfect sense to focus your efforts as a leader on how to capture the hearts and minds of your people. And again, I think it begins with authentic leadership, and then that's defined in my view as just simply aligning your words with your actions. Employees notice that and they appreciate that, and they'll be willing to do their level best to help you and the company achieve their goals.
I think historically in American companies, they were sort of run like military,
Hmm.
where you had the general giving orders and everybody was supposed to just follow instruction
Yes.
and not question his authority. But that model hasn't really worked out as well. I think I've seen a lot of people that have come on my show, leadership
Hmm.
coaches, leadership speakers, consultants, and it's all changing, isn't it? The whole,
Yes, yes, indeed. Yeah, Douglas, that's an excellent point that you make. That's called classical management theory, which is really shaped from the armed forces. That model does not work, especially in the millennial environment. Millennials don't want to be talked at. They don't want to be told what to do. And this whole notion of managing people, frankly, doesn't work. And that may sound counterintuitive. It may sound like it's total opposite of our current views on management today. I'll give you an example. The term supervisor is no longer as prevalent in the business world as it was, say, 20 years ago. Supervising adults, that concept doesn't resonate very well with the millennial generation that now make up the majority of our American workforce. And they don't want to be supervised. Just the mere thought of managing or supervising an adult doesn't resonate well with those people that are responsible for putting out the work from day to day. So they prefer a more collaborative approach. They prefer autonomy. They want to have their space, and frankly, they'll give you their best if they have those things.
Do you do speaking engagements? Do you go around to various corporations and do presentations? Or?
Well, years past, yes, I did, but obviously since COVID, I've done much less of that. But I hope to do more in the post-COVID environment. But I do, I have done some speaking in recent months. For example, I speak at the Call Center World event that happens, Call Center Weekly, excuse me, that occurs, several times a year. I spoke last year in Vegas. I've spoken at a few other conferences of that same magnitude in prior years.
Can you give an example of one thing that a company can do right off the bat to improve the relationships between the management and the employees?
Well, I think it begins by again by demonstrating authentic leadership. That's I think the very, very best thing that leaders can do is stay true to their word, and live up to the words that are etched in the vision statements and the mission statements. If you say that you value your people, then you should be able to produce or demonstrate in your day-to-day actions that you do in fact value your front line. For instance, if you value your front line, do you offer benefits that appeal to their needs beyond the medical, dental, vision, et cetera?
You mentioned the word supervisor, and I heard that from a couple of other people where they said that some of the new ideas these days is getting rid of or reducing middle management because the employees can be more self-governing. Would you agree with that approach?
Absolutely, yeah. That has in fact been taking place. We call those self-managing teams, but it takes a lot of work to get to that point. But certainly, I think that is the ideal end state, is to have people self-manage. That's not my objective, of course. I'm not suggesting for a moment that you don't need leaders. Leaders play a very critical role in the workplace, but to the extent that we can give people the autonomy to do what they do best, meaning those people that are on the front line, the people that put out the work from day to day, if we can give them the autonomy in the space and focus our efforts not on managing them or talking at them, focus our energies on giving them the space they need and helping them to remove any barriers that might be getting in their way and impeding their performance in any way.
Do you have anybody in mind? I mean, do you know, as an example, who you think is a good leader who's working towards this objective?
Well, I'd rather kind of broaden that to companies that are known for good leadership. I think Zappos stands as a key example of an organization. They have relatively flat layers of authority, and anytime you have fewer layers within, from the front line up to top leadership, that usually hints to more autonomy, more empowerment on the front line. Typically, there are some exceptions though, but Zappos does stand as an example of a company that says one thing and does exactly what they say. So they mean what they say. They stay true to the words that are etched in their core values, in their mission statements and their vision statements. And the people on the front line are empowered, and they deliver astounding results because they feel that empowerment, and they feel that they're highly valued among leadership.
Okay, I'm not really familiar with them. What do they do?
Yeah, Zappos they're popular for shoes, and I believe they're based in out of Vegas, where you are.
Oh, I've heard of them,
Yeah.
but they make shoes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't bought shoes in years, so that's probably why. I'm one of those barefoot kind of guys if I can help it. All right. Well, that's good. How many books have you written now?
Well, I've only written one, and of course, I wrote a dissertation, but of course that's published. But I've only written one book, nonfiction, and I will probably write more in the future.
Okay. Are you going to stay with this same theme, do you think?
Yes, I believe. Yeah, that's where my passion lies. Is again how to help leaders get more out of their frontline employees, and building better relationships between leadership and frontline. That's where my passion lies.
You said you did do some on-site speaking before COVID?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Was there any one specific area that you saw that was sort of prevalent between companies? Like maybe they're not following the mission statement, but was there any one specific thing that you can think of?
Well, I think the one thing that really comes to mind is most companies overemphasize strategy over culture. The ability to put together a strong strategic plan is one of the key attributes, key qualifications for a leader. But the relationship between strategy and culture it's a very interesting relationship. The strategy is the compass that drives focus and direction, while culture is more the emotional, organic climate that ultimately determines whether a company's strategy lives or dies. And by overemphasizing strategy and de-emphasizing culture, or just not paying attention to culture altogether, what you're doing is mortgaging your strategy to the future, and that's not necessarily, a good practice. It usually doesn't yield positive outcomes. So, I subscribe to a balance, an equal balance on strategy and culture. When you build your culture, your employee, a strong culture that's engaging, welcoming, a strong culture that encourages people to deliver or contribute their personal best, then achieving your strategy comes much easier in that type of work environment.
The other one that I've heard is the debate between customers before employees or employees before customers.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there are certainly different schools of thought on that. But I'll tell you this. I think I believe in the customer-supplier relationship. And if you can envision a big triangle, which is where the agent is, and then to the left, you've got the supplier, okay? The supplier represents management. They supply the knowledge, they supply the empowerment, inspiration to the employees. And then on the right side of that is the end customer, the paying customer. So as a leader, if a leader focuses on giving the employees what they need to do their jobs, then customer satisfaction comes much easier. So in other words, you satisfy the people that have direct interaction with your customers or clients. That will usually yield, positive results, greater efficiencies within the operation, lower costs, et cetera. So that's been I have subscribed to that philosophy for decades now. And I have found that it really works. I don't have to worry about the end customer if I can appease my internal customer, which are those people that look to me for guidance and support and inspiration every day.
Well, I think on that note, we're going to have to wind this down. We've run out of time.
Time
Thank
flies
you so
when you're
much
having fun, Douglas.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on the show. Do you have a website you want to give out?
Yes, I do. Thank you for asking. It's humancapitalguru.com. Humancapitalguru.com.
Okay, and there's links to buy your book and other information on that site?
Yes, there is. My book can be found on Amazon and other major retail outlets.
Okay, great. How long has the book been out?
It's been out since September 11th. That's an ominous date. Wasn't by design, but yes, it was published on September 11th of 2021.
Okay, how's it doing? Are you getting some good reviews?
Yeah, excellent reviews. I got several reviews on Amazon, which can be found very, very quickly. And my average out of 5 stars is 4.5 stars.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's great. Okay, well, Dr. Williams, thanks so much for coming on. It was nice talking to you, and best of luck